Today's target is how can you identify congruent figures? You're going to need your spiral and a pencil out for this lesson. I'd like you to go ahead and start with this. Tell whether the triangles are congruent or not congruent. Go ahead and number your spiral 1 to 6, pause the video, and simply just write congruent or non-congruent next to each number. Okay, let's go ahead and check your answers. Number 1, those triangles are not congruent. They are not the same size or shape. Number 2, those two triangles are not congruent. As you can see, one triangle is smaller than the other. Number 3, the triangles are not congruent. Number 4, they are congruent. They are the same size. Number 5, not congruent. One is smaller than the other. And number 6, they are congruent. They are both the same size. Okay, a key idea for section 2.1 is on congruent figures. The definition, I'd like you to go ahead and write this down in your spiral. Congruent figures are figures that have the same size. I'm going to go ahead and highlight that because that's really important. They have the same size if they're congruent and the same shape. So the same size and same shape makes them congruent figures. Let's take a look at an example below. These two triangles are congruent because they have corresponding angles or matching angles. So if you notice here, angle B is congruent to angle E for both of these triangles, and they have corresponding sides or matching sides. So line segment AC corresponds to DF. Okay, we're going to go ahead and talk through this problem together so you don't have to write anything down. And then you're going to do something similar with the next example. So these two figures are congruent. Remember again, they are congruent according to our definition that we just wrote down because they have the same size and the same shape. So we need to name the corresponding angles between these two figures and the corresponding sides. Now don't forget, the corresponding angles are the matching angles between these two figures, and the corresponding sides are the matching sides. So the first two corresponding angles between these two figures would be angle A, which is right up here. So angle A and angle W. Also, angle B and angle X. And that's how we write angle, with the angle symbol, angle B and angle X. Angle C and angle Y. And then lastly, we have angle D and angle Z. Now we have to name the corresponding sides. So the first corresponding side would be side AB, which is up here, and side WX. The next one would be side BC and side XY, side CD and side YZ, and then lastly we have side AD and side WZ. Okay, I'd like you to go ahead and do this one on your own in your spiral. Go ahead and pause the video in a minute. These two figures are congruent. You have to name all the corresponding angles or the matching angles between these two figures and the corresponding sides. Okay, let's go ahead and check your work. So I've color-coded and highlighted the corresponding angles, so go through and check yours with my answer key here. The corresponding angles would be J and angle S, angle K and angle R, angle L and angle Q, angle M and angle V, and angle N and angle T. The corresponding sides or the matching sides would be side JK and side SR, side KL and side RQ, side LM and side QV, side MN and side VT, and lastly side NJ and side TS. So go ahead and make any corrections to the work that you had. Okay, another key idea to record in your spiral is on identifying congruent figures. Two figures are congruent when corresponding angles and corresponding sides are congruent. So as you can see here, triangle A, B, C, which is the top triangle here, is congruent to triangle D, E, F. And this is how you would write that. You would actually write the triangle symbol, A, B, C. The symbol here means is congruent to. So triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. And they are congruent because they have corresponding angles. So angle B and E are matching angles. Angle C and F are matching angles. And angle A and D are matching angles. The sides are also congruent. AB is congruent to side DE. BC is congruent to side EF. And side AC is congruent to side DF. Okay, I'd like you to pause the video and try this one on your own. Which square is congruent to square A? So take a look at square A and figure out which square, is it B or C, is congruent to square A. So each square has 4 right angles. Square A, B, and C all have 4 right angles. So the corresponding angles are all congruent. But let's see if the corresponding sides are congruent. As you can see, square A, looking at square A and square B, each side length of square A is 8, whereas each side length of square B is 9. So those corresponding sides are not congruent. Let's take a look at between square A and square C. Each side length of square A and square C are both 8. So those corresponding sides are congruent. So the congruent square to square A would be square C. Now let's take a look at these two trapezoids. Trapezoid ABCD and trapezoid JKLM are both congruent. I'd like you to answer these two questions. What is the length of side JM? And then what is the perimeter of trapezoid JKLM? Go ahead and pause the video and try these two on your own. Okay, let's take a look at your answers. So side JM corresponds to side AD. So the length of side JM is 10 feet. What is the perimeter of trapezoid JKLM? Well, the perimeter of trapezoid ABCD is 10 plus 8 plus 6 plus 8, which is 32 feet. And again, because these trapezoids are congruent, their corresponding sides are congruent. So the perimeter of trapezoid JKLM is also 32 feet. Let's take a look at square D in this next example. Which square from example 2 is congruent to square D? So is it square A, B, or C? Go ahead and pause the video and explain why why square D is congruent to square A, B, or C. Okay, we'll go over the answer in just a minute. Now I'd like you to try number 3 here. So using example 3, which we already did, which angle of trapezoid JKLM, which is down here, JKLM, corresponds to angle C over here? And then what is the length of side KJ on this trapezoid? So pause the video and answer both of those questions. Okay, so if we take a look at that first question there, which square in example 2 is congruent to square D? The answer would be square B. And then in the next question, which angle of trapezoid JKLM corresponds to angle C? That would be angle L. And what is the length of side KJ? That would be 8 feet. All right, now I'd like you to go ahead and either look at the agenda or Canvas for your next task for today.